In general, when you play SPAAs, tank encounters are always random. If that's a light tank, you will easily destroy it. If it's something heavier, you might have a problem. What I liked about this French SPAA is that I had problems, but much less often, because it's quite effective when fighting ground vehicles, despite it's designed to destroy planes. The vehicle has 3 bell types, or probably it's more accurate to say clip types. They are not very different, all of them are made out of 2 shell types, just in different proportions. The default clip has an equal amount of these rounds, while researchable ones have either more high explosive or armor-piercing projectiles. The vehicle uses clips that contain 4 rounds, and it takes half second to replace them. But since 40mm cannon doesn't have a high rate of fire to begin with, reloading or switching between ammunition belts is almost unnoticeable. You can distinguish a longer period of silence every 4 shots, but in general you can fire non-stop and for long time since cannon almost doesn't overheat. By the way, reload is not affected by loader skill, so who knows why this guy is even here. Since 40mm is pretty big caliber for SPAA, your shells are effective. High explosive rounds usually either one-shot planes or at least critically damages them. There are almost no usual hit messages unless you attack bigger, more armored planes. On the other hand, it's harder to hit them in the first place due to lower rate of fire and only 1 cannon, while other SPAAs in other nations sometimes might have 2 or even 4 cannons. Armor-piercing round, that is primarily used against ground targets, is one of the best things this vehicle has. It penetrates up to 94mm. That is pretty impressive for a SPAA at 4.7 battle rating. Some medium tanks you will be fighting against can even be penetrated frontally. Not every SPAA can do that, but the best results are achieved when flanking. Then penetration is no longer an issue and you can deal with multiple enemies at once since you don't have to reload like they do. Just make sure to destroy them or at least disable their gun quickly, because it hurts when they start to shoot back. Since armor is weak, it's mostly made of around 20mm thick plates. Some high caliber machine gun projectiles might ricochet, but in general it's not very healthy to be under fire. On a good note, vehicles should be fully protected from low caliber bullets, maybe except the loader who sticks above the vehicle. Self-preservation instinct is not his strong side. In addition to weak armor, survivability is lowered even more by the placement of the crew. There is only 1 crew member in the hull, so 1 IPHE round knocking out everyone in turret will send you to hangar to rethink your strategy. Additionally, SPAAs use a lot of ammunition, which in our case is stored in turret. There is a literal wall of explosives around crew members, and that in turn increases the chance of ammo rack detonation. Of course, you might start a battle with less ammo, but then you will not be able to attack air targets so aggressively since attacking planes is a very shell-consuming process. Open turret might be a bad thing, but there is a good side to it as well. It provokes opponents in planes to attack you, making them an easy target to hit. The turret rotates up to 30 degrees per second, should be more than enough when engaging ground targets, because their turrets rotate even slower. But when attacking planes, occasionally you will feel that you can't rotate fast enough to keep up with opponents, but that only noticeable at shorter distances. Vertical guidance is very good if you aim up and pretty bad when you aim down. There should be no issues when fighting planes. Cannon elevates up to 85 degrees, but depending on the map, you might have difficulties attacking ground targets since gun's depression is just like Soviet tanks have, 5 degrees. So be aware of vehicle's limited guidance when driving uphill. This SPA is fast enough to feel comfortably when moving around the map, and even can be among the first ones to capture points at the beginning of a match. Its maximum speed is 60 kph, though as usual it's possible to reach it only when driving downhill, so most of the time you can expect stable around 40 kph speed. Reverse is 6 kph, enough for some basic maneuvers, but nothing extraordinary. If in realistic mode you will probably have more ground kills, in arcade it's opposite. It becomes harder to deal with tanks, since you will face heavy tanks more often and it's harder to flank, so lack of penetration really shows. While at the same time a lead indicator will make it much easier to hit air targets, and no one tries to save their plane in this game mode anyway, so you can expect a lot of players simply ignoring you. But destroying less tanks and more planes is not equal exchange, because only tank respawns are limited, while destroying planes, especially after they already dropped their bombs, is not so beneficial for the team. So overall SPA becomes less useful in arcade. I would prefer a lineup of 3 tanks for maximum efficiency in this game mode. The vehicle is worth having in your lineup. It is sufficient to fight all kinds of enemies. Maybe it's not the most effective choice, especially when it comes to fighting tanks, but SPAAs have the lowest spawn cost requirement, so there is a good chance that you will still be able to take it no matter how badly you performed with previous tanks. I would rate it 6, doesn't matter what belt, they all contain the same rounds, out of 10. It has good enough rate of fire, but not enough to fight planes effectively, and good enough penetration, but again, not enough to fight tanks effectively. But nevertheless, it can fight everything, and being universal in quickly changing battle has its own advantages.